Good morning, good morning. So I'm Thor Sigtusson, the founder and chairman and the owner of the Iceland Ocean Cluster. I want to go through with you how the cluster was established and what we have been doing. We're also, of course, a small country, but we have lots of ocean resources. So we've had an opportunity to work with many fisheries and fish farms and maritime industries, but we have not had a really clear government strategy. So this has been done more on a private for-profit note. So I want to go through how this has been done from the early days. I was actually doing my PhD from the University of Iceland and actually from the US University as well. And my focus was very much on the economy of the seafood industry. And this is the picture that was given to all of us, like in the past, of how we see the industry developing. Meaning people were saying the fisheries and even fish farming, it's all sort of left fewer people because of more efficiency. And so there was not a lot of future. But when I studied it further and said, if we can do more cross-fertilization with the industry, we see a completely different picture. A picture where there are much more employees in the blue economy as a whole, and we have lots of opportunities. If we understand the value in this cross-fertilization that Sebastian talked so well about earlier in his speech, that we can actually do much more. But we have to realize that the blue economy has often been the part of the economy that is kind of the black hole. People don't know about the opportunities. So we've been able to sort of at least enlighten some people here in Iceland and elsewhere with our strategy. What I want to do is to go through with you a little bit about how we've done it and what has been our success and what we've learned in the past 14 years since I established the cluster in Iceland. And to begin with, I think the main thing for us was just to map all the parts of the blue economy in Iceland and figure out what it is what are the parts and how they can collaborate. It tends to be so that in this industry, like in so many others, people work in silos. The fishermen are meeting, even the processors are meeting, then the fish farmers are meeting as well. Universities tend to be kind of isolated. This is what I've felt from my friends in Korea as well. The problem is that we're all in kind of silos. So the basic mission of the cluster was to try to break down these silos and create value by getting people to collaborate. The university students, startup community with the fisheries, startup community with aquaculture, with biotech, etc. So all of these parts were a big part of the success of the cluster was just the mapping itself that had never been done before. And it led to this feeling a little bit more that there is this need for cross-fertilization. But our main mission is always to foster collaborations. And this has been very well mapped by previous speakers as well. This is what we do all day, always. We are fostering collaboration. We are the matchmakers. We are trying to figure out a way to get people to talk over the silos, figuring a way to get people to share ideas, share skills, etc. What I did in the early days was actually in the capital of Iceland is to have a space for the startups. They were also kind of lonely in Iceland. It is not a space, even though we are in Iceland with these amazing resources, our ocean economy, the economic zone of Iceland is at the similar size as France. So it's a huge area, but still people didn't see that many opportunities there. And I met with many of the startups that were in their garage here and there, and they felt a little bit isolated and they were not shown the interest that they deserved, I feel. But by bringing them more together in a startup space, which was to begin with 2,500 square meters, we got them to talk and share ideas and got new generations into it. And what I'm so happy with now is that there are so many teams of young people, people with very different skills that have now established all kinds of startups that have become quite a successful stories. I'll tell you about some of them more later on, but the main thing is that they were able to, I feel, through this fostering of collaboration, through this cradle that we created, many of them have been assisted through this new network of blue innovators, as we have now in Iceland through the Iceland Ocean Cluster. But there needs to be a value proposition, and that's the challenge of a cluster, not least a cluster that is not sponsored by government. What is the value proposition really? What is it that we are doing? We can't only be just bringing people a cup of coffee and get them to talk. We needed to have something concrete to show, something concrete that would give people the feeling that there is a reason to meet at the cluster. There's a need for this breaking down of these silos that I mentioned. And so one of the things that we started to do was to look at ways to create more value from our seafood industry. And today we catch around 60 million cod in Iceland. So we have a huge industry in Iceland in seafood. We're actually number 17 in the world, I think, in terms of catch, total catch. But we said to ourselves, what we need to do by breaking down these silos, we need to bring in more people that have talents to take this fish to the next level. Meaning, we need to bring the university students in, we need to take the startups on board, we need to take people from research institutions, government, etc., to get them to understand that we can do much more with this value. Today, the cluster has really been focusing on this on a global scale to find ways to create less waste from the seafood industry. We know from our friends in Korea even that we have now estimated that there might be around 1 million metric tons of perfectly good fish byproducts that are wasted in Korea alone. But this is not the only country, it's all around. We Icelanders have now moved up to nearly 90% of our catch being used, so it's only 10% waste, while in many countries it's around 40 to 50%. So this is what I call the low-hanging fruit of the cluster. We had a mission to figure out a way to minimize waste and create more circular economy around the whole seafood industry, whether it is the wild catch, fish farms, or what have you. So just to give you a nice example, if we look at a 10-pounder, 10-pound cod, the normal way of doing it in many European countries and elsewhere where they have catch of some kind of cod, it would be just to take the fillet, which is around maybe 40%, maybe a little bit liver out, but throw the rest away, which is probably around 50%. Through the cluster and through the innovation system in Iceland, we have been able to change that. So instead of doing $14 of the cod, we are now up to nearly $5,000 a piece for many of our cods that are cod. So what's happened here? We're actually saying the cluster has this mission to figure out a way to get people to understand that there is much more value if you collaborate. There's much more value in these amazing seafood products that we have in all our countries. And what we've done in Iceland with it is we're taking the liver and creating all kinds of fish oils. We're taking the enzymes from the intestines of the cod to create beauty products and pharmaceutical products. We're even taking the heads, either doing fish meal or protein, or drying it for exports. We're also taking the fish skin now to create both collagen, protein from the fish skin. We are also creating skin graft for hospitals that are basically the most expensive product in Iceland, where you use the fish skin to heal the wounds of people having difficulties having the wounds healed normally. And we have even soda drinks made from the collagen, etc. The main thing is here that we felt from the beginning that we needed a clear mission to work with from the cluster perspective and what the cluster can bring is this cross-functional collaboration. So I think that's basically what has been our greatest success. We're now looking at the salmon the same way. We have also done things with all the crustacean shells. So it has nothing to do with our main product, which is the cod. It can be actually in nearly all of our ocean resources with regards to the bio sector. We're also looking at other parts of the economy, but at least what's interesting is that we know that the wild catch is not going to be growing, of course, in Iceland, and neither will it be in most other countries. But we see the seafood and ocean tech being growing quite fast, and we've been helping a lot with that as well. Fish farming is growing as well, but this is what I call the 100% fish, the part which the Iceland Ocean Cluster has been probably the most active, which is to bring this new sector, the startup sector, into that space, into the ocean tech space as well, to create value for the economy of Iceland. We call this the incredible fish value machine. And this is what we made, and it's become viral, just to show that there's no waste. And a big part of our success is basically to have this message cleared, sent out, that you can create much more value by using the cluster model. You can create much more collaboration through very different sectors that have never been speaking to each other. As I mentioned, whether it is the academy or the research institutions or government or the startup world or the fisheries or fish processors or farming, those people need to meet and talk, and they tend not to do so. So the role of the cluster is basically to get people to work together. And this doesn't have to be only the seafood sector. We have been working on very different parts as well with regards to creating this collaboration between people. And I would say now one of our biggest challenges now is also to figure out a way to get people to collaborate with the greener vessel designs. In the last 2 or 3 years, we've been saving 20% CO2 from fuel consumption in the vessel design. And this is not only for fishing vessels, of course, there's a lot happening with other types of the maritime sector as well. Other success stories, the transportation, much more eco-friendly than in the past. With new design and renewable energy, we're able to export many of our fresh products much more eco-friendly, with also lengthening the shelf life of the fish and other products that we're sending out, fresh or iced. So what I wanted to also emphasize is that I think one of the success of Iceland is not only that we have built this sort of on a macro level. The success lies also in the fact that we have all kinds of communities now in Iceland, very small fishing communities that have become leaders in different sectors. Just look at the western part of Iceland, West Fjords it's called, where we have global leaders in using cod skin to help burn or diabetic wound to heal by recruiting the body's own cell. The market value of this company alone is around $1 billion US. We can go also to the West Fjords. There's a branding of a town with a population as a 100% fishing village, and now receiving over 20,000 tourists each year, just to show them what we can do with the fish. In northern part of Iceland, a small town there, where they are world leaders now in extracting chitosan from shrimp shells for biomedical purpose. That's another success story, but it tells us that it has to do with the mindset of the people. It doesn't have to be in large cities, and I've been talking about this with my friends both in Seoul and Busan. We need to focus, and I know, for instance, in Korea, this is a huge issue. We need, like in so many other countries, to enlighten these smaller communities of fishing villages to figure out a way to get them much more people back into these towns. In this town in the northern part of Iceland, for instance, we have quite a lot of PhDs now working on developing products from the chitosan shells. So it shows us that this is possible, but we need to make sure that we have the clustering model working, being the collaboration between the research, between the startups and other parts of the blue economy. Finally, in the Westman Islands, a small island just outside of Iceland, they're building a world-class factory making collagen protein from fish skin, just showing us once again this, as I'm emphasizing, this does not have to be all on a large scale, and it is crucial for Iceland, like so many other countries, to understand that with the cluster model, with the changed mindset, understanding the value of the circular economy in the seafood industry, creating value from products that previously have been defined as waste, knowing that there should be no waste in the seafood industry, we can create jobs and opportunities for communities, small local communities all around. What I want to go just briefly through are the sort of keys to success of the Iceland Ocean Cluster, why I think we've been successful with our model. I think number one, and this has been emphasized by others here today, is to keep the industry leaders close. We have had the fortune, in our case, to have some of the fisheries leaders, but also leaders from other supporting services of the industry very close to us. They have been supporting our efforts, investing in some of our startups, and that is not the least. It's probably one of the most important part, which is the investing of the industry leaders in some of the startups that have been coming out of Iceland now in the blue economy. Number two, I will emphasize the low-hanging fruits. The importance of keeping in mind that we want all to see results. And this is what we've done in Iceland with the Iceland Ocean Cluster, to make sure that people feel that there is something coming out of it. There's a product. There's a way to show people that this is not only talk, this is actually action. And we have numbers to back that up. We have also a huge group of stakeholders, as I call it, not only the industry leaders, but also the research institutions and governments that have been, and the investors as well, all need to be activated to make sure that we have a successful cluster work. And we also need to measure results. We have shown in our case that, as I showed you from the cod picture, we're showing that there is a lots of value already being created in Iceland with our model. It is also, we have also tested how many of the companies are actually collaborating in some ways. All these are measures that really are crucial to the success of the cluster model, in my opinion, at least. What we're doing now is expanding the ocean cluster model globally. And once again, it's a fairly straightforward model, which emphasizes the low-hanging fruit, emphasizes the importance of connecting people from different parts, bringing people in that have never spoken to each other, but have a crucial role if we're building a strong blue economy. And what we are lucky with now is to have all these amazing people together now in different parts that are actually building their own clusters. So we have now the New England Ocean Cluster, we have the Alaska Ocean Cluster, we are planning other clusters in Africa, we have the Namibia Ocean Cluster. These models are very different from ours. We have a for-profit cluster model, but in most of these cases it's non-profit. It is not really up to us how these models are built, but the main thing is that the low-hanging fruit concept is there, and the ideology of collaboration with the cross functional elements are crucial there. So I think that's basically what we want to see also happening with our friends in Asia, at least in Korea, where I've been, of course, now twice and have enjoyed the talks with our friends, seeing if we can help out with creating a stronger cluster models in that space as well. So by that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. And we would definitely like to see more collaboration with our friends in Korea. I'm showing here that finally the slide of our famous cod. We have actually survived through the ages by catching this amazing piece. But I'm just trying to emphasize here the value in many of these products and many of the ocean products, which have been wasted in such large numbers so far. And we believe that that's part of the cluster mission to create understanding and value through through the collaboration here to create more value from these seafood products. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 아이슬란드 저희가 해양 클러스터 사례를 봤는데 뭐 함의점이 굉장히 많은 것 같습니다. 수산물을 100% 부산물이 없게 해서 이렇게 부가가치를 창출하는 부분부터 블루 이코노미와 연계해서 소규모, 그러니까 어촌이나 이런 인구 소멸 지역에서의 어떤 지역 경제를 활성화하는 부분까지 좋은 함의점을 주셨다고 생각합니다. 오늘 발표해 주신 토르 시포슨은 작년에 저희 세계 어촌 대회 기조 강연을 하셨고요. 또 개인적으로는 10월에 이제 방문을 해서 한번 만나 뵙고 같이 인사를 나눈 바 있습니다. 그래서 온라인에서 뵈서 다시 한번 반갑다는 말씀을 드리고요. 예, 똑같이 저희가 아마 여러 질문들이 있을 것 같은데 받도록 하겠습니다.
Thank you for your presentation. And I have a question about the expanding the ocean cluster model globally. Yeah, do you have any international project or some team for expanding the cluster globally?
Can you repeat that, please?
I have a question about the expanding the ocean cluster model globally. Do you have any policies or team for the cluster model to expand globally? Thank you.
Yes, we have a team working on expanding the cluster model globally. So we are working with very different countries now, from Sweden over to some African countries, and but in many ways we are there, the advisors to these teams, and helping them just to understand why we feel that we have been successful with our model, and but it is so good to feel that there is such an interest now in the blue economy in so many countries, and there is so much understanding that we can do so much more than we realize. Just for people to understand the proteins that we're throwing away that are now used for landfill in so many countries. If we can use the cluster model to build further understanding of the value that we can create for small communities, this is what makes me tick, and this is why I'm waking up happy every morning to see that we can help out with that.
네, 추가 질문 있으신가요?
먼저 발표 감사드립니다. 앞에 세 분의 발표와 다르게 요 아이슬란드 클러스터는 이제 시작부터 민간에 시작되었다는 특징이 있는 것 같습니다. 그래서 첫 번째 궁금한 것은, 그러니까 두 가지 질문을 드리겠는데요. 첫 번째는 여전히 완전히 민간으로만 운영이 되는 건지, 아니면 이제 뒤에 아이슬란드 정부라든지 뭐 주에서 어떤 서포팅이 있는지가 궁금하고요. 두 번째는 어쨌든 똑같은 유사한 질문인데요. 이 클러스터에, 그러니까 지금 개별 파트너 말고 이 클러스터 자체에 대한 어떤 수익 구조, 아까 마치 글로벌리로 나간다든지 그런 활동을 하기 위해서는 어떤 수익 구조가 있어야 될 텐데, 그러니까 어떤 수익 구조를 갖고 계신지가 좀 궁금합니다.
First, we are a private cluster. So I am the sole owner of the Iceland Ocean Cluster, and the model is based on the idea that we are providing services to the companies that are our members, So they are not in that sense, they are not, I look at it as a membership, of course, but it's a commercial relations between the companies and the cluster. So that we get no government subsidies, but we are participating in various competitive grants proposals for the European, US, and the Icelandic markets, meaning that government is supporting projects, but all based on competitive basis, meaning that we're not getting any free money from government. We have to work for it, like Sebastian was talking about earlier, and that's probably so. Our membership fees now are probably around 15% of the income. We would say that advisory work would be around 40 to 50%. And then these projects that we're working, European projects, is actually probably around 30%. We have also invested in several startups. Some of them have become quite successful. So a part of our income now is through the structure, the income structure of some of the startups that are now up and running.
예, 그렇다면 회비가 15% 받고, 그러니까 차지하고 있다면 결국 멤버십 피에 대한 어떤 서비스를 제공해주고 계시는 건데, 구체적으로 어떤 서비스를 제공해주고 있는 기업들한테 어떤 서비스를 제공하고 있는지 어떤 사례를 들어줄 수 있으신가요?
I think some of the projects that we've been working with the companies are, for instance, accelerators, where we are connecting now innovators and startups with some of these companies. What's interesting is with companies, even though they love to be in innovation and have innovation departments, they often have ideas, and they've said to me, like, we have no time or resources, man hours available to look into certain new ideas. So they use the cluster now to try to find good people, good innovator people to work on new ideas with them. So that's one of the things that we've been doing with these with our companies. The other thing from the beginning has been basically just to help them to collaborate with other companies to figure out a way to do new things. And probably one of our best examples is when we started the collagen manufacturing in Iceland. This is done by we had people on board, our staff, that did the business plan, and then we met with lots of fisheries and academics and talked about this idea, and together we formed a company that now has, at least in 2022, created a value from nearly 3,000 metric tons of fish skin into collagen.
그렇다면 어떤 기업에 대한 아까 엑셀레이터를 말씀하셨는데 어떤 기업에 대한 직접적인 투자도 하시는 건가요?
Yeah, we have a separate mother company or subsidiary that is investing in some of the startups. Not all of them for sure, but many of them. And we're now working on establishing a venture capital fund, formal venture capital fund, where we will bring in more of the, hopefully both pension funds and hopefully some fisheries, where we will be able to have even a stronger position when it comes to investing in startups in Iceland and elsewhere.
예, 감사합니다.
네, 마지막까지 좋은 발표해 주신 우리 토르 시푸슨 대표님께 감사의 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.